Yes. This is an era of complete uncertainty. We don't know what will the future will bring to us. We don't know when we will get rid of this COVID-19, the deadly virus completely. And at national level, we don't know how far we are away from the COVID-19 peak. And so this has not just threatened the survival of humanity, but it has impacted us all on the from the social and economic level too. And right now, the priority is to protect the life of vulnerable section of the society and community. And this can be done only when there is a by collective global action is required in this regard. So the countries are helping each other, the countries are learning from each other. That's it. The next is, please, next slide. Now we are moving forward with the changing face and catalyst role of corporate social responsibility in COVID-19 era. Now, next slide, please. I'm going to discuss the meaning and legal provisions and to whom the CSR provisions are applicable and what are the government guidelines and how the CSR can be an opportunity for the companies, what are the need of time and what are the challenges ahead for the CSR and what are the problem in implementing CSR policies and how the company is really using CSR policies to fight this COVID-19. Next slide, please. Now, the what is CSR? CSR is the responsibility of the companies toward the societies and stakeholders, which affect the stakeholders for the course of action of these companies in day-to-day operations in terms of social, economical, and environmental level for towards the society and stakeholders. Now, the legal provisions and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs I have provided the CSR policies and CSR rules under Section 135 of the Companies Act 2013. Early it was voluntary, but it is mandatory from the 1st April 2014 for companies who fulfill the certain criteria of monetary limit under the Section 135 of the Companies Act 2013. And the CSR related activities given in the Schedule 7 of the respective act, and these CSR activities where the companies can spend their CSR fund. Now, what are these monetary limits? These monetary limits are the companies having net worth of Indian rupees 500 crore or more, or turnover of rupees 1000 crore or more, or net profit of Indian rupees 500 crore or more. If the company is fulfilling this monetary criteria, only then companies are under the legal obligation to set aside 2% of their last 3 years profit for the CSR activities. And what are the CSR activities? These are given in the detail in the Schedule 7 of the Companies Act 2013. And these are related to the eradication of poverty and the welfare of the society and education, upliftment of women, and etc. The next slide, please. Now, what are the government guidelines? Just after the announcement of pandemic by WHO on 11th March for COVID-19, the government of India has taken its very first step by declaring COVID-19 as a notified disaster. And this step of government of India has been welcomed by the industrial sectors of India at large. And now this can be now the private players and corporate houses can play a crucial role partner in the war against this pandemic. Next. Now the most important which I am going to discuss today is the CSR as an opportunity. Now, when we are more sensible toward the problems and concern of society, we are more acceptable to the society. And so companies have resources, companies have equipment, companies have technology, and they can use these resources in a
Gunjan,
more
last minute
effective.
for you.
Okay. This can Companies must strive to use this crisis to use their CSR tool, and they can use the CSR networking to reach out the vulnerable and interacting with the stakeholder. Next slide, please. Now, near the time is collaborative approach. We need to come together, whether it's the companies, whether it's the competitors, governments, NGOs. We need to come together for fighting this crisis and mitigating the effect of this crisis. Next. Next slide, please. Now, what are the challenges ahead for the CSR corporate social responsibility? First is the prioritizing the health of safety of employees and giving them financial security. And companies are also facing the financial and liquidity crunch. And along with that, there is a disruption of supply chain and social value chains. And along with that, they are doing everything at the same time. They're also for their need to focus on the other potential crises at the same time. Next.
Time up for you, Ms. Gunjan.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gunjan, for nicely narrated your topic. It was very good to listen you, and the
Thank you
slides
so
were
much.
really nice. Thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next in the series for the presentation, we have Dr. Mamta Manchani and Dr. Sapna Manchani with the topic A Change in Student Perception Towards Entrepreneurship Post COVID-19. Okay, we have Mamta Manchani with us. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes, yes. Sapna will start the session and then we'll continue. Yes, Sapna.
Okay, Dr. Sapna, over to
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, yes, you're
Yeah.
audible.
Good afternoon, respected dignitaries present over here. Myself, Dr. Sapna Manchani, along with my co-authors, we are presenting a paper titled Change in Student Perception Toward Entrepreneurship Because of COVID-19. Can we have a next slide? Coronavirus pandemic that has swept the globe is perhaps going to be recorded in history as the most impactful and consequential event of this century. Coronavirus has likely changed how students learn and how they have thought about their career. Students probably feeling more uncertain about their future and are worried about it and are worried about securing that first job. According to the college reactions, 38% of the it is found that 38% of the students who have secured an internship and postgraduate work, those who have been cancelled and offer have been revoked. A number of graduating students are looking for upgrade their skills and are thinking of different entering into job market. Next slide, please. As we all seen, then companies withdrawing their offer made to students. With the present situation of lockdown, especially MNCs are revisiting their hiring plan and are either revoking offer to or the delaying the join. The decline is also seen in general and non-campus hiring post-COVID pandemic. Companies like Microsoft see nearly 46% drop in hiring activities in the ongoing years. Meanwhile, students are also facing uncertainty. Many of the students were eagerly waiting for their placement session and to land their first job. But now they have no idea if the placement session will be happening or not. They are fearful of what will be left of their hopes and are bracing for their uncertain futures. Next slide, please. Students are also worried about the repayment of their education loan. The prospect of the employment for their education were crucial in their decision to pursue expensive courses. Many took out education loan to complete their studies and pinned hope of their job that would get to help them repay the loan and ease the financial burdens on family. With all the negative sides of COVID-19, there is also a positive sign of COVID, that is, it will fuel the next wave of innovation. According to Dr. Stephanie, COVID-19 brought business everywhere staggering to the halt as a world lockdown. But the coronavirus pandemic will bring with the exciting opportunity for the entrepreneurs at least. There is no crystal ball that can predict how market will develop in this unpredictable climate, but entrepreneurs are even more important to the economy than before. There are challenges, but there are also an opportunity for entrepreneurs to take advantage of and create future job opportunities and role of the economy. Next slide, please. Objective of these studies, we have found two objectives in this studies, that is to analyze the change in student perception toward entrepreneurship because of COVID-19, and second one is the demographical analysis, the change in student perception toward entrepreneurship. We have taken one hypothesis and we are going to find one hypothesis in this study, that is there is a no significant difference in change in perception of students toward entrepreneurship because of COVID-19. Next slide, please. Research methodology, type of data. This study is based on primary and secondary. Both primary data was collected by the online questionnaire through Google Doc, And secondary data we have collected from articles and from journals. Sample size 100 student of graduate and postgraduate have taken. Students are of different stream covering management, commerce, technical, and art. Sampling procedure, proportionate stratified random sampling is used to select the samples. Strata has been made on the basis of their education and education streams. Sampling unit cities collected for the data collection were Riva and Bhopal. Next slide, please.
Last minutes of now.
Slide.
Next slide. Now the remaining part will be covered
Slide,
by.
please.
Now the remaining part will be covered by Dr. Mamta Manchani.
Very good afternoon to respected dignitaries and all the listeners who are listening this. For this, we had developed a questionnaire containing 23 statements which are covering in entrepreneurship in uncertainty, entrepreneurs are innovators, entrepreneurship intention, easy of doing business, influencer for entrepreneurship thinking, and last one is fear of failure. For this, as we had taken 95 as our sample size, so we had used SPSS 20 for analysis of data. Next slide, please. I request, yes, previous slide, one more slide is here. Previous slide. Table 1.1 shows the mean value of all these statements. Previous slide. Okay. After this, there is one more slide.
Okay, Mamta ma'am, we are done with our timings. Mamta ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, Sapna.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the sequence, the third participant of the session is Miss Simran Saswani, a student of DBA APSU. But before Simran starts,
Thank you, Alka
okay,
ma'am.
thank you, Simran. Sir, Pateria sir, Das sir, can we have this presentation started? Can we get a start? Okay, Simran, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's start. Simran, just remember you have 5 minutes for the presentation.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Hashtag work from home is nowadays trending and new office nowadays. The harder you work, the luckier you become. With this, a very warm good afternoon to all the dignitaries and one and all present over this wonderful e-conference. I'm glad that I, Simran Saswani, student of MBA first year, got this opportunity to present my research work on the topic perception of employees on work from home post COVID-19. First of all, the work from home started as an option, then become mandatory due to COVID-19 situation. The last 3 months have shown how productivity has not been hampered even our physical location, even due to our physical location. As work from home is a big success, but I wanted to know what are the views and sentiments of the employees regarding work from home so this made me to do this research. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Hello. Yeah, the main objectives of my research were firstly to know the willingness of the employees. Are they willing to work from home? And the opinion, previous one, please. And the opinion of employees from working from home and experience of the employees by working from home. Next slide, please. My research methodology, please, next slide.
My research methodology consists mainly of primary data with having 89 respondents, and I got 89 responses from employees working in different sectors during COVID-19. Some data has been collected through secondary sources like journals, websites, newspapers, etc. Among these 89 responses, there were 52% of females. Next slide, please. And the rest were males. They further include of different age groups and different sectors like teaching, interns, engineers. I use different types of graphs like bar graph, pie chart, etc. And also use some sorting, formatting, and many more. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. As everyone can see in the graph that prior to COVID-19, the 33% employees never work from home, and now almost employee of every sector is working from home due to COVID-19. Next situation, next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, I collected the resources that employees need to make work from home more successful. 35 plus 30 people out of 89 feel that there should be better communication channels and good communication to make working from home more successful. And as already it is a big success, but these were the employees' views to make it more successful. Next slide, please. Next slide. 60 to 80%, that 57% of employees feel that their productivity is between 60 to 80%, and that's very good. And 25% people think their productivity was around 80 to 100%, and that's a remarkable productivity during work from home. Next slide, please.
Last minute for you, Simran.
Next slide, please. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Nextly, in this slide, we can see that 62% of employees recommended that work from home is a very good option for future also. And the 4% said it's very good. Next slide, please. As I discussed all of my findings that through the graph analysis, one major finding was that employees were happy from this work from home as their jobs and families both are safe and secure. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. At last, I would like to conclude my presentation with the conclusion that work from home is just fabulous to make everyone safe as well as to run their livelihood.
Thank you, Simran.
Again, I would like to mention
And
work from home is a big success during COVID-19 for industries and different sectors as well as for the employees.
Simran,
Thank you. Have a nice day to
your time is
everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, you too. I really appreciate your efforts, Simran. But before I turn to the next participant, there's an instruction by our head that participants can ask questions to the presenters through their chat board.
Yes, ma'am, I'm done. I've
Through
done
their
my
chat board. Questions can be
Yes,
answered
ma'am.
by the paper presenters through the chat board only at the end of the presentations. Okay,
Thank you,
next
ma'am.
in the sequence, we have Dr. Suresh Pandey, sir. He is connecting with us from Bhadoi. Okay, Suresh Pandey, sir, you're there?
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am,
Good
and
afternoon.
good afternoon to all the distinguished guests
Over to you.
presenting here. Thank you very much to Dr. Atul Pandey, sir, who have given me this opportunity to be part of this great e-conference on this your strategies and challenges in business management. So actually, I'm from Carpet Institute. I think you might be aware or not, but I would like to give a small introduction of my institute. This is the only institute of its kind in the world where we are imparting the courses in textile and carpet both. And we are situated in Bhadohi, UP. It is under the Ministry of Textile, Government of India. Now I will discuss the real problem and challenges what we are facing in our carpet industry actually. So next slide please. Next. Hello. Hello. Yeah. First of all, I will give a brief introduction of carpet industry so that you may understand what we are producing and what kind of problem we are facing due to this COVID-19. Actually, this carpet industry has been started in India in 16th century in the era of Mughal. Actually, there is a village in the district of Varanasi that is known as Ghosia. Actually, the people from Persia had come to this place and rest here for 15 days, and they started only the weaving of carpet here. So this is the generation, this is the origination of carpet that is known as Ghosia. Today, we are the largest producer and exporter of carpet, especially the handmade carpet. Actually, hand-knotted carpet is world famous type of carpet which is produced in India, which has the specialty. That is, we produce the high knotted carpet and we are exporting to the worldwide. The 80% carpet, handmade carpet, is exported from India. Next, please. India is the popular country which produces the high knotted Persian carpet. Actually, we are producing other type of carpet that I will discuss later on. But the Persian carpet, which is world famous in most of the places like Rashtrapati Bhavan and Delhi Airport, you may see the carpets are Persian carpets. So it is produced in India only, and India has pioneered the largest exporter of handmade carpet that I discussed. This eco-friendly colors and our craftsmanship and the designs, these are uniquely identified in the worldwide. Next, please. Types of carpet that we are producing in India. These are the hand knotted woolen carpets, tufted woolen carpets, chain stitched rugs, pure silk carpet, synthetic carpet, handmade woolen daris. Dari is a very famous product of Bhadohi Mirzapur district, which is worldwide accepted, and we are the only country where it is made, that is in Mirzapur and Bhadohi. And 40% export of carpet is handled by our country, and we are accessing 73 countries, and we are exporting to the 73 countries including US. Next, please. I'd like to give a small introduction of this carpet industry. Indian handmade carpet industry is highly labor intensive. We are providing approximately 20 lakhs workers job at their doorsteps. This is the beauty of this industry. In this pandemic, okay, ma'am. In this pandemic COVID-19, we are most of the companies are offering work from home. I would like to tell you, from the day beginning, this industry has been giving the opportunity to the artisans to work from their home. 90% works are done by the artisans from their home from the day beginning. And the export that was started in 1961-62, that was 4.42 crore. Now it has been crossed the 13,000 crore. Actually, the data I have given in the slide, it is the old data for March up to the March 19, but up to the December 19, it has crossed the 13,000 crore. Next, please. Next. Next, the corporate cluster in India. Basically, I would like to tell you what are the corporate cluster where
I'm sorry, sir.
we produce the carpet. These major areas are Uttar Pradesh. Please, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Is there time to present?
No, sir.
Next.
No, sir. Time is up for you. Sorry, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much
Thank you
for
so
giving
much,
this
sir, for giving
opportunity
the
to me.
knowledge
Thank you.
related with the carpet industry in India. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, next in the sequence, we have the presentation of Dr. Pallavi Singh. Let me confirm she is here or not. Pallavi, ma'am, are you there with us?
Yes. Hi, Alka. Am I audible enough?
Yes, yes, ma'am, you're audible enough. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming, for joining us globally.
My
All the best,
pleasure.
ma'am. All the best,
Alka,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Alka, sorry, I would like to share the screen by myself so that I have a control of the slide. Is that okay?
Sure, ma'am. Let me. Yes, ma'am. Why not? Sure, ma'am. Okay, I'm again repeating this thing to the key chairpersons, to everyone, that she is connecting us with us from Singapore. Okay, ma'am, over to you.
Alka, there is no option being displayed. So I guess, have you enabled the screen share on my part?
Just hold on, ma'am. I'm doing it for you.
Or just wait a second. I think I need to sign out and I'll log in again. Like it will be in a jiffy. Okay.
Ma'am, can you please push the button of present now from your screen? Okay, ma'am, you are here with us in the screen actually. Ma'am, your PPT is not here, ma'am, with us.
Ma'am, please switch on your microphone. Pallavi, ma'am, are you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I have switched it on. Yeah, just a second, please.
Ma'am, you can click on present now button and you can share your.
Yes. It's okay. Thank you. Just a second. I'm navigating through. Yeah. Thank you so much. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. We can share.
Okay.
You can share here with us.
Thank you so much, Alka, for giving me the opportunity and calling me for my turn. A very warm and hearty good afternoon to everyone present over there. And I would like to thank my mentor, my guru, Dr. Atul Pandey sir, to give me this opportunity. And I won't take much of time since I have a very less time to present my paper. I've come up today with a paper called as Unleashing the Education New Norm 2020. My first question to everyone over here is, why do we need the new education norm? Let me share over here a very basic fact that the e-learning or the online that we are talking right now, that is the demand of the time, is not something new that has erupted all over the night. It was long back. I guess e-learning and distant learning is a system that was already established 30 years back. Remember, it was 30 years back that this particular system was already existing. Now, with the happening of this pandemic, it has made us a kick, or it has given us a kick or a challenge. And in simple language of English, if we say, when life throws you lemon, what do you make out of it? So today we are over here to make a perfect lemonade from the lemon that has been thrown with the COVID and the pandemic to all of us. My next question is, why do we need a new education norm, which is quite similar to what I asked just a minute before? The first basic reason is money involved. If we talk about the brick and mortar institutions that we all have been belonging to, it involves a lot of cost. Let me take the current scenario right now. And I think kudos goes to the university, APS University, and the entire organizing committee to conduct this particular e-conference and leading by example of the new education norm. Provided if this particular conference would have been conducted on brick and mortar scale, it would have involved a lot of money with respect to traveling, accommodation, food and catering, whatnot, many things. Then next comes the timing. Let me give you an example, a perfect example. Just a minute before I wounded up my meeting with the board over here. And right now, next moment, I'm over here presenting a paper. What a flexibility of time this new education norm is providing us. Had it been the brick and mortar system, I think it was not possible to address these two issues right now at the convenience of my home and my laptop. Last and not the least, but the most important factor is manpower. Manpower is considered as one of the most greatest asset of any organization anywhere in the world. And for any particular system, whether it is marketing, finance, education, or you talk about any sector, it involves a lot of manpower. And we should remember that manpower involves cost as well as time. And how can we forget the most important factor? That why do we need new education norm today is the nature. We didn't address to the requirements of the nature, and that's why we have been thrown challenged by this pandemic. And now here we are juggling to find out a new system, a new norm, which we can apply quite smoothly, and the transition should be like glistening smooth. Moving forward is to enhance what I said right now. It's very important to come up with some facts and data for the power of online education. And the facts that I would like to state is, since the year 2000, the growth of e-learning industry only in education and training has been increased by 900%. That's a good amount. And we haven't started yet. We were waiting for the challenge to compel us to move on. Next is, it has been quite well understood that the learning of the students and the participants with respect to the learning as well as the content, the amount of the content they learn increases 5 times more as compared to face-to-face learning when it is compared to e-learning. So it's quite clear the return is more. Further, next, to substantiate, for any investment we make in finance, we talk about return on investment. So the investment made on education should also talk about the investment returns that we get. So what investment do we expect from students? The retention rate of the content being taught to them. And it has been seen that the retention rate of e-learning students is 25 to 60% far more, which as compared to face-to-face is only 8 to 10%. So the data are right in front of us. And we wonder that we was waiting for pandemic to throw challenges on us, and then we make our next move. Lastly, the most important factor, the nature. Britain's Open University study found that producing and providing e-learning courses consumes an average of 90% less energy. We would have never ever thought that it would really cost less energy. And most important, it gives carbon emission 85% less as compared to face-to-face. So it's really high time we should think that what is the new education norm and how can we move ahead. And for these particular things, I came up with this particular study for which I have recently done a training, and I have practically done the entire transitioning of 150 teachers to the new education norm. So the question comes, why do we need to unleash the new
Last minute for you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So the purpose of the study was to find out, is the education sector really prepared to meet the challenge? What is the pedagogy available to transition from brick and mortar to virtual education? And what are the available platforms to make the smooth transition? The methodology used are both primary and secondary, and my findings I have summarized in AAA approach. AAA is the battery that we use to charge ourselves. Right now, the industry needs to charge up. So my first AAA is to accept. We need to accept the fact, like any other industry has a disaster management. Education industry does not have a disaster management. We need to accept that fact, and instead of reacting to a situation, we need to respond. As Dr. Nageshwar Rao rightly mentioned, that now the countries, the education system are coming up, they are responding with various measures. Next is to adapt. Sandeep Singh sir and even PK Singh sir said in a different language, and Darwin said survival of the fittest. PK Singh sir said जिस दिए में जान रहेगी वही रह जाएगा. तो अगर अपने दिए में हम लोग को जान रखनी है, then we need to adapt. And to adapt, it is necessary that we as the learner catalysts, we need to understand what is TPACK.
I'm sorry, ma'am, your time is up.
Just give me 30 seconds to wind up. Thank you so much. TPAC stands for Technological Pedagogy in Advanced Content Knowledge. Now, this is a plethora of things where we need to talk about. And since I have a crisis of time, if anyone has any doubt regarding it, they can ask me in the chat box. And lastly is to advance. We need to advance ahead and need to understand that not only brick and mortar, not only online, we need to follow a blended approach. And that is the call of the time. Blended approach along with the TPAC that is required by the learner catalyst. We as educationists and myself belonging from the fraternity of educationists, I strongly recommend to follow the AAA approach and make it necessary for every teacher to go through the TPAC, understand what is your technological pedagogy, and then you will achieve success with the new education norm. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I must say the way you explained the new norm is really remarkable. We are glad to listen you, ma'am. Thank you again for the knowledge shared by you.
Thank you, Alka. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Okay, it is to let you know all that we have our last participant of the session, Dr. Amit Srivastava, sir. Are you here, sir? Dr. Amit Srivastava, sir, you're here? Okay, I guess he's not here. So, okay, do we have Sunita Rora with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Sunita, over to you. You are the last participant of the session. Sunita,
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, can you show my slide that I sent to DBA website? Sorry, mail ID. Hello.
Yes, yes, you're audible. Sunita,
Yes.
go ahead.
Ma'am, can you present my PPT slide that I sent?
Yes, yes, yes. It's loading. It's loading, Sunita.
Good afternoon, dignitaries and fellow participants. This is Sunita Rora, a research scholar. My topic is CSR, dire need of assistance during COVID crisis. Next slide, please. Next, please. Corporate social responsibility, which is the also called CSR generally, is a broad concept and it is worldwide pursued by the business houses. This concept came into existence in 20th century in USA, approximately in the 1950s. At the time when this concept came into existence, it was mainly linked to philanthropy and charitable works. But today, the concept has gained momentum, and across the world, this concept is considered as the social responsibility apart from the profit of the companies. So different scholars and management leaders have different approaches and their different views on CSR. That's why there is no universally accepted definition. United Nations Industrial Development Organization, which is also called UNIDO, has given a definition, a management concept whereby companies integrate social and environmental concerns in their business operation and interaction with their stakeholders. It includes both primary and secondary stakeholders. Next slide, please. Archie B. Carroll, which is also known as a scholar of CSR, he has written about 72 books on CSR, gave a pyramid of CSR, and he defined 4 types of responsibility which constitute an overall CSR of a company. These are the 4 responsibilities: economical responsibilities, legal, ethical, and discretionary. Next slide, please. I'm not elaborating these responsibilities due to shortage of time. Please, next slide, sir. CSR and triple bottom line. John Ellington, a British management consultant, gave a term TBL, which means triple bottom line. This what triple bottom lines, please go back, sir. He gave 3 P's in triple bottom line: people, profit, and planet. People refers to stakeholders, living stakeholders, whether it is socially deprived persons or companies, employees, or customers, all the people. Profit refers to the profitability of company and economically upliftment of company. Planet refers to the environmental concerns of a company. Next slide, please, sir. CSR in Indian perspective during COVID crisis. As Gunjan ma'am already mentioned that India is the first country who has regulated, who has made law about CSR expenses or 2% of CSR expenses for the companies who have at least 5% of net profit in preceding 3 years of their 3 years of their company. But when COVID came into worldwide, when when WHO declared COVID-19 as pandemic, that time India's MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, in their guidelines issued a general circular that companies who are spending their money on. Okay, ma'am. Next slide, please. Ma'am, please go to next slide. There are a lot of corporate houses who are spending, who are contributing with government in this COVID crisis. Ratan Tata, an industrialist and philanthropist, he committed 500 crore for the procurement of protective equipment for frontline workers, respiratory equipment like ventilators and other testing kits for COVID-19 pandemic. Following him, N. Chandrasekaran, the present chairman of Tata Sons, donated additional rupees 1,000 crore in support with Ratan Tata. BMC, in collaboration with the BMC, Reliance Industries, HN Reliance Foundation set up a hospital, which is yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sunita.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just to inform you, we also have some more requests of papers in the same session, but due to the limited time constraints, we are not able to allow them. We will consider them in any other next session and will let them know through the mails and personal calls. Really sorry for inconvenience to all. Thank you to every participant. It was a really great session. Your hard work is really appreciated. I really come to know more about these various aspects and effects of COVID-19. I guess you all are feeling the same. It's a time to have the words of wisdom and kind experience sharing from all the experts, all the invited speakers with us. So, at the first, in the sequence, let me call a very gentle personality from the industry, Mr. Binay Pandey, sir. Sir, are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm there.
So before that, I invite you again for your kind words. Let me introduce you more and give a brief introduction of yours to the participants and other people who had joined with us. Mr. Binay Pandey is working as a general manager at Grasim Industries Limited, Aditya Birla Group, at his corporate office in ERM Cell at Mumbai. He has 27 years of experience in various industries of consumer durables, textiles, metals, chemicals, fertilizers, insulators, and group corporate service in different functions like sales and marketing, business excellence, commercial excellence, management system, enterprise risk management, and sustainability across different geographies. He has successfully implemented management systems like ISO 9001, ISO 14001, OHSAS 18001, and SA 8000 in textile and metal units, and also a trained internal auditor. Mr. Pandey is certified assessor of ABG Chairman's VCM Awards and has assessed more than 10 units for business excellence. He is trained by CII CWCM in business excellence domain. He has been instrumental in JST to achieve Chairman's Bronze Award and Silver Award in VCM GPQA, CII Award in HR and Productivity, QC Award at national and international level, and winning Kaizen competition at group level at CII level. Sir, what to say? It's our immense pleasure to have you with us in this first session. Over to you, sir. Please share the knowledge in you. Thank you.
A warm good afternoon to the chair of the session, Professor R.P. Das, Professor L.P. Pateria, Professor Atul Pandey, to all delegates and participants. I feel very delighted today to attend this session, because I also come from the same university. This is the university where I have done my MBA in the year 1993. And I think I'm connecting after 27 years. So it's a pride moment for me to connect with you all. Now, this pandemic, COVID-19, has thrown everything in disarray. Nobody anticipated that this kind of situation can come and disrupt economy in such a huge way. As you know, I am currently looking after two cells. One is enterprise risk management and one is sustainability. So we are also having the job of ensuring that business sustains and also that risks are appropriately managed. Now, when we do the risk management, we also see long-term risks, short-term risks, natural disaster risk, climate change risk, all kinds of risks we are evaluating. But nobody ever thought that something like this pandemic can also come. Now, in our ERM framework also, we have started taking up pandemic as one of the major risks. It could be in any other form, not COVID-19, but some other form. But pandemic has become a major risk. Now, in every risk function domain also, this is one of the major risks that businesses are evaluating. Now, what are some major challenges it has thrown, you see? First is all businesses have come under very heavy financial stress. This is the number one challenge. Number two is about availability of the contract manpower. You have never witnessed since independence such kind of reverse migration of workforce. Now, this has what put all industry to a standstill, because now when we are opening up, we are finding the crisis of having contract manpower. Third is ensuring safety of employees. Even when we are thinking of opening up, we have to maintain so many things so that employees feel secure, safe when they come, and we have to mitigate their apprehensions so that they do not contract COVID, their life is not at risk. So now we are saying new normal. What this new normal is, what kind of new normal is going to be, I'll discuss something about that while discussing the mitigation step of this. Now, fourth challenge is about the liquidity crunch. Since 3 months, we are not producing anything. We are not selling anything. We are not getting payments. So how to pay to our employees? How to pay to our fixed cost and all these things? So liquidity crunch has become a major issue. Falling market demand. Now, because cash has become king and everybody is trying to conserve cash, nobody is willing to spend anything. So what has happened? Demand has started contracting. Even we are producing. Is anybody in the market to take that? That is the challenge. Then adapting to new normal. There is something we have to adopt to this style now very fastly, because we are actually used to work in one way. Now going forward, we have to use to work in another way. So let's get geared up for that. And then business continuity. So these are the 7 challenges I'm thinking COVID has thrown. Broadly, there can be many, but I am trying to discuss on these seven challenges and what could be the mitigation steps for that. So when I'm saying that the business is disrupting financially, heavy financial stress, how to overcome that? Now, the one reason is this is the optimum time to think for all kind of cost optimization opportunities. We also say for few initiatives, like collaborate and cash initiative, we say collaborate, CASH, collaborate and scale higher. This is the time when you have to leave a style of working in silos. You have to collaborate, you have to be seamless, and you have to find out all hooks and corners from where you can make money, where you can save money. So this is the time when we have to see cost optimization opportunities, when we have to see how we can seamlessly collaborate, how we can harness the strength of the group, how can we harness the strength of all functions. This is the time when we have to do all this so that financially we can become stable. Now, when I'm saying about the number 2 availability of manpower, now, contract manpower, it's very difficult to bring them now also, even though industries are opening up. So what is the way out then? You have the given manpower, you have to manage. So you have to see what skill they have, how can we reskill them, how can we multi-skill them, and that is the way, like skill mapping, reskilling, multi-skilling, and asking people to do more than one work. Now, specialization era will not hold true. Third thing is about ensuring safety of employees. I said that you have to develop SOP in your workplace. What should be the transportation medium? Even in like in office bus also, you have to maintain social distancing. You have to maintain sanitization. You have to check employees before they are boarding the bus, whether they are having fever or something. So they should not be taken in the bus. Even entry-exit time could not be same. They have to be in different times so that the crowding can be avoided. Canteen norms will be different. People cannot eat together. In all these norms will be there, so some SOPs should be there, and they should be strictly followed. Because once you get COVID, then even if your factory is opened, it will be likely to be closed again. So you have to maintain this and the kind of social trauma that employees will have. The fourth step is about the liquidity crunch. I said when we have the liquidity crunch, what do we do? So we have to see, we have to revisit many things. Like first, we will see that we have to stop payment. We have to postpone all capex investment, because capex invest. This is not normal time. So in normal time, if the capex is not very crucial, can we postpone that? Number 2 is visit your credit management policy. We used to give credit to our customers 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever. So now cash is king. So we have to see if we can squeeze that liberty that which we used to give earlier, we cannot give now. So we have to think on that. We have to review our policies on credit management. Also on payable policy, if when we are making payment to vendors in 15 days, maybe 30 days. So now we have to see if we can postpone that. So that is about one. Then the third thing about liquidity is also when we are saying look for synergy. This is the time when synergy you have to look, synergistic opportunity. You should freeze hiring, and all these things needs to be relooked. Forex hedging should be done so that you can save your cash. As cash, I told you, cash is king. Now finally, market demand is, I told you, not there. And what you should do? This is the time when you have to think how to develop new products. Asian Paints, they have started producing sanitizers. Many textile companies, they have started producing masks. So you have to think of developing new product. You have to think of exploring new market, because in some countries the pandemic is so high, you will not get the market there. Move to the other countries where the pandemic is not so high. So that you should do for this, your demand arresting, and then adapting to new normal. I said, now you have to adopt some culture. Don't call people to office if they're not required. Work from home, technology intervention, all this will be a way of life. And we have to see that if it is very urgent, then no public transport should be encouraged. Or company provided vehicle with social distancing norms. These things should be done for then business continuity plan. Now business will continue only if you will adopt 2-3 measures. First is the stakeholder engagement. You engage with your stakeholders like suppliers, like customers, tell them what are the situations and what kind of support you are looking from. So stakeholder engagement is essential. Future proofing. If you are thinking some product lines are going to finish, think of new product lines that are going to come. that you should think for business continuity. Your risk management framework, your sustainability model should be relooked and
sorry to interrupt you,
sustainability.
sir. Sir, actually, Professor Das has scheduled this meeting, so please kindly conclude it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so this is what I said. There are the 7 challenges, and these are the 7 mitigation steps I discussed. Now, finally, I'm saying how we can overcome. We can overcome this thing by having sound strategy in place, sound execution, and there is one quote with which I'm ending. छोटी छोटी बातों से पूर्णता आती है, और पूर्णता कोई छोटी बात नहीं. Though small steps you have to take, you should take, and it will make a difference, I believe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Vinay sir. Considering your points with all industrial experience is highly appreciated, sir. Acceptable, sir. Thank you for the knowledge from you, sir, from the side of my university. Again, a warm thank you for giving your time. Now in the sequence, we have a decent and kind-hearted personality as a key speaker of this session. He is LP Pateria, sir. I can't thank you enough for your kind presence in this session, sir. But before I request you to share your kind words, let me share something more about you from this point. Professor LP Pateria, sir, has more than 3 decades of teaching and research experience. He is PhD in management. His areas of interest are general management, marketing, tourism, and quantitative techniques. Professor Pateria has been Faculty of Management Studies, Chairman, Board of Studies in Management, and Head Department of Management Studies, Guru Ghasidas Central University, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. He has also been member of Executive Council and Academic Council of the University and various administrative bodies. NAC Coordinator and Chief Warden of the University Hostel. He has been Chief Election Officer of the University for Students' Union for 6 consecutive years. Professor Pateria is a visiting faculty to various management institutes and universities across the country. He has published more than 40 research papers and attended more than 50 national and international conferences. 13 candidates have been awarded PhD under his supervision. So thank you so much for kindly joining this session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to participate in this national conference. I convey my good morning to all of you and convey my respect to my elder brother, Professor R.P. Das ji, the Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor of Indira Gandhi National Open University, and industry expert Shri Vinay Pandey ji, Professor Atul Pandey ji, the Dean of Faculty of Management in APS University, and other academicians, research scholars, students and participants who are joining, who are participating in this National E-Conference. The topic of this National E-Conference is very much relevant and contemporary. The outbreak of coronavirus, right from the reporting of the first case in Wuhan province of China, and then to the first case on 31st January 2020 in India, has brought drastic changes in the lifestyle of people, not only from India, but from the world also. The changes are not only social and political in nature, but they are economic in nature also, and that is more meaningful, and because of it, the lifestyle is changing significantly. The changes which has been influenced by this coronavirus is almost every sphere of life has been influenced by it. The impact of those changes will be significant in times to come. The lockdown period, which was imposed by the government of India under the philosophy "Jaan hai to jahan hai," has subsequently posed problems on many fronts, especially on economic front. The decision of protecting life and subsequently working for life pace has become a challenge. The strategy to remain in a house has not worked and the government has to rethink for the economic challenges which were posed by the lockdown. Now, these are some estimates that the global economy will shrink to almost 1% in the year 2020, and its long-term impact on the GDP of India will be around 5 to 7%. There has been, all of us know that there has been a substantial rise in the unemployment rate. You see, the unemployment rate in February 2020 was about 8.65 for the urban and 7.34 for the rural sectors. In April, it has very drastically changed, and now it is estimated that it is at 25.79% for the urban people and 22.48% for the rural people, and the total unemployability will stand at 23.48%. Now, it is also estimated that about 100 million or more people, the job of 100 and more million people will be at risk in the post-COVID period. The financial impact of the lockdown is even more worse. It has resulted in a sharp decline of revenue collection of both the union and state governments and other bodies, as only essential business and economic activities were allowed during these early phases of the lockdown. It is again an estimation that during the early lockdown period of 40 days, around 5.5 lakh crore rupees was lost. The pandemic has left us and will leave us with such kind of loss that cannot be realized now. The COVID pandemic has resulted in the disruption in economic and business activities. The degree of disruption may be short, may be long, and medium also, and will be determined by the duration of the pandemic and the scale of the pandemic. It is, if the pandemic is managed and controlled within September 2020, it will not have a significant on the economy of India. But if it moves beyond that period, it will have a severe economic impact on the economy of India and will have long-term disruptions. Now, if we discuss what are the challenges especially posed by the post-COVID area, now I will name few of them. Our earlier speakers have made an account of those challenges, but I will I will add the challenges. The first, as my earlier speaker, Shri Pandey has mentioned, that the major challenge is the unemployment. The people have lost their employment because of the COVID. The reverse migration of the workers from the industry, that has again a very significant challenge before the national planners. So the first challenge is that creating employment opportunities for those jobless workers who have lost their jobs, and for training the other workers for running the industry from where they have left the job. Then industrial and manufacturing sector, Shri Vinay Pandey has very rightfully said that the industry has been locked down. It has not. It will have to be reopened in the lockup. The period coming in the coming period, and the reopening of these industries will require a new set of guidelines with respect to the nature of the operation, production, capacity, means of marketing, financing, and many other. The challenge will not only be to facilitate the restoration of the revival measures, but also to boost their internal strength so that they can make up the loss which they have made during the lockdown period. And Another the challenge before us is that the majority of the Indian workforce, they are a part of the unorganized sector, and it would be rather difficult for us to establish standard operating procedures for their revival and re-engagements. Then another challenge is the service sector. As we know, the service sector accounts for significant percent of overall gross domestic product in India. Now, there are many industries in it. The challenge before us will be that major of the industries, service industry, major operators in the service industry, they belong to the unorganized sector. Again, the same challenge will be here in the service sector also. Then regarding the banking and financial system, it has to be restored, because during the lockdown period, the major banking services have not been in operation, and the dispersal and collection of the funds from and to the market has resulted in almost the downturn of the banking industry. The banking industry is facing a financial stress also. The existing rate of return has slowed down, and this will the demand fall in the demand will be seen in the time to come. Therefore, the challenge is to restore the banking and financial system to improve the economy. Then rural economy has faced a significant failure, because in the rural sector, as we know, the rural sector mainly depends on the agriculture. Now, the first visible impact on COVID-19 in the rural sector is the agriculture supply chain. This has the farmers have their products ready, and the market needed, but since because of the lockdown, the transportation has been limited. So the government has now issued permits to some trucks, but still the large number of transporters they are yet to receive their permits. On the demand side, the restaurants have been closed, so the demand has fallen. The transportation system is not working to its maximum. Therefore, the agriculture sector is the worst affected area during this lockdown period. Now, the farmers, because of these, the farmers have to sell their crop at a cheaper rate, settle with a lower profit, and the production and sales are dependent on number of situations. These factors have also been affected by the COVID period. So this will be the new challenge, that we have to monitor the factors which have adversely affected the agriculture. Now, health infrastructure is another area where COVID has significantly affected. Of course, the health facilities what we have in India, they are limited, all of us know, and they are operating under stress, and which give rise to many of the problems, stress among the patients, stress among the health workers like doctors and nurses. Therefore, the challenge will be to manage the health infrastructure and prepare it for the post-COVID period. And then working environment also. Working environment in industrial and manufacturing undertakings is now not operating, and will not operate on a full scale even after 5-10 months. So people are allowing, the industries are asking their employees to work from home, and educational institutions are also running their e-classes in order to maintain the social distancing. So this is another crisis. Now, working from home has certain advantages, but at the same time, they have disadvantages also. So the challenge will be to manage those disadvantages of working from home. Particularly, the work from home is not suitable to all kind of jobs, and it is not suitable to all type of personality traits also. So this has another area where we have to work on. Now exports have also come down. The MSMEs, they have not, they were closed for a long period, and we have to restore and revive these MSMEs. We know that MSMEs, they have a significant contribution in the Indian economy, and they have this financial viability, migration, health, and other problems. So they have to be tackled with. And the last but not the least is this consumption and saving pattern of the people of India and also the traders that has been changed during the post-COVID period. So the challenge will be to manage that these changes which have been resulted in by the COVID in the consumption and saving patterns have to be managed. Now, as everything has two faces, some advantages, some good advantages, some good things, some bad things. So COVID also has some good things and bad things. It has bad things also, but it has good things. Now, these good things have presented some opportunities and strategies to meet with. The first opportunity which the COVID has resulted in is the ICT infrastructure. And now people have started believing in the making use of the ICT facilities. People are more using now the mobile internet. Now this is an opportunity which COVID has posed with us. So we have to increase expenditure on these ICT infrastructure. And second is the rural, regarding the rural economy, we have to shift from the conventional farming to the scientific farming. The revival of rural economy, the labor factor of production will be largely replaced by technological factors, and thereby indigenous system of production will vanish, and a new modern ways of doing cultivation will find a place. Now, there is a need to increase means of scientific storage in terms of long-term availability of raw food materials. Altogether, it can be said that there could be a shift from conventional farming to scientific farming. Now, another area is the agro-processing units. Now, we have to think of since the food materials are available, but they have to be processed so that they find a meaningful place in the market. This would make the rural individual more reliant and self-managed. Now, green economy, as we have seen that the lockdown period has decreased the pollution level, and this pollution level the lockdown has ignited and restructured the minds of millions of people to stay at home, and their online digitization, the entire framework of operations will go on online, cloud-based, and this will require less paper, less deforestation, and thereby increasing the level of decreasing the level of pollution. So, but the challenge before us will be to prepare the new guidelines in formulation of standard operating procedures for this green economy, as work from home will also require the standard operating procedures, because in India we have limited communication facilities, and that too in some of the rural areas they are not working proper. So we have to take into account these limiting factors. Then Swadeshi economy, our Prime Minister has called for the self-reliance, and the movement will, the Swadeshi movement or self-reliance will have to be, will be another opportunity. This will help us in saving the foreign exchange and making us more reliant. Now, the COVID has prepared us for the future pandemic. Now, it has made all of us countrymen to learn a lesson from it. It has taught us to be prepared for any sort of unseen situation. Therefore, the COVID measures will also include preparedness for the disaster and adequate management techniques in order to effectively deal with the unforeseen and uneven situations in future. Now, the biggest challenge before us in the post-COVID area will be restoring the civil life back to the normal, because the civil life during these 3 months have changed significantly. Our institutions are closed, and not higher education, but other educational institutions are closed for last 3 months. So restoring the civil life back to normal will be a biggest challenge before us. Now, I will share with you some of the strategies for the economic and educational and social revival in the post-COVID area. First is that the investment, the government should consider the investment in all sectors of economy. Now, there's some sectors in which the foreign countries are they have not so yet invested. We must find those, and we should try to invest in those areas. And in India also, those sectors which have not been taken care so far should be taken care properly in the future. Then the IT professional demands will increase in the future, because people will restrain from face-to-face contact. So they will largely depend on the ICT techniques. So we should be prepared that the pool of IT professionals to work for various IT firms across the country, and this should be properly taken care. Now, cheaper health services. This is the time, testing time for both union and state governments for working in full capacity to fight the novel COVID-19 pandemic. And now it has, the health sector has to be given the top priority, and it will rise. I mean, the awareness among the countrymen is increased. So this awareness is likely to increase the demand of health services in future, and the various operators in the health industry, they must come in and take advantage of this opportunity. Then alternative therapies. So far, in controlling the COVID-19 pandemic, we are largely depending on the allopathic therapy. Now, there are alternative therapies like Ayurveda, Unani, yoga, meditation. So business operators in these areas, they can come forward, and they can develop the core competence, and to encounter the marketability of their products and services at the global platform also. Then digital initiatives, as we know, the use of digital initiatives is increased, and the operators in the digital business, they will contribute to a larger extent, and the government should promote them. Of course, we are the use of digital technology is increased in days, but there is a large scope in these areas. Now, and at the government side, the tax collection, this has resulted, the COVID has resulted in the depletion of tax collection. It has depleted the liquidity of the government also. So it has to be increased, and the countrymen, they must be aware that the increase in tax by the government they should be ready to decrease their consumption of luxury items, and so that the government and the country can work properly. Now, in the rural regions, I'll now come to the last and the most affected part of sector of the Indian economy by the COVID-19, and it is the rural region. The rural region, the central government has begun certain initiatives, including a relief package to the farmers. The government has announced that 2,000 rupees, 2,000 will be credited in the accounts of the farmers under the PM Kisan Yojana. But this will not be sufficient. The government should take initiatives to find a job to the farmers and to the rural people, especially those workers which have migrated, which have reversely migrated from the industry to their rural areas. Now, food and nutrition security to those people, it has to be ensured by the government. Now, this can be done by the National Integrated Child Development Services, midday meals, and Anganwadis, and rural child care centers. So this is a must. So by concluding it, at the conclusion, what I have to say is that the pandemic is not going to end soon. It will bring about a complete change in the way we look at economic growth from the concept of consumerism and self-appeasement. There is a need to look at the economic growth from a new perspective and develop models which can help us tide over the uncertainties created by COVID-19. This pandemic will force us to think of building a fair world where a holistic approach is needed to strengthen economy by aiming for a quantum jump, developing world-class infrastructure, developing a system that is based on a technology-driven arrangements, monitoring demand and consumption patterns by optimum utilization of infrastructure, resources, and capacity, development of vibrant demography, and development of self-reliant India. So this is what I have to share with you. I thank all of you for giving me a patient hearing. I also take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this National E-Conference, especially Professor Piyush Ranjan Ji Agrawal, Honorable Vice Chancellor of APS University, Professor Sunil Tiwari Ji, Professor in charge of Study Center of HRD, and Professor Atul Pandey Ji, Dean of Faculty of Management Studies of APS University, for giving me an opportunity to deliver the keynote discussion and share my views. Once again, I thank you all. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Pateria sir, a person who really addressed the meeting is a key speaker, and you really played an amazing role of this, sir. In an easy and simple language, you really explain all the aspects of post-COVID era. Thank you for being so kind all the time and accepting our request of being a key speaker of this technical session 1. And your kind presence with your valuable time is highly appreciated, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your assistance with this e-conference, sir. At last, now it's the time to call a genuine personality who has featured with so many talents in him. But before I call him, his kind words, Professor R.P. Das sir, Please let me allow to say something for you, sir. Sir, are you there? Professor R.P. Das, sir, are you there, sir? Okay, let me introduce him with to know more something about him. Professor R.P. Das, sir, has teaching career spread over than 3 decades. He has worked in XLRI, Jamshedpur, Jivai University, Gwalior, Assam University, Ujjain, and Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur. He has been visiting faculty to IIM, Raipur, and several leading business schools of the country. Professor Das has administrative experience of more than 2 decades in various positions and responsibilities. He was Director, Institute of Management, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, for more than 10 years. While serving in Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, he served as a member Executive Council 3 terms, Dean Faculty of Management Studies 6 terms, Member Academic Council and Chairman, Board of Studies in Management for more than a decade as a Director, College Development Council, and several other academic administrative responsibilities. Before joining IGNOU as a Pro Vice Chancellor, he has completed his full term as Vice Chancellor of Berhampur University, Odisha. He was Chairman of Central Board of Studies in Management for Unified Syllabus in Management, Government of Chhattisgarh from 2014 to 2016, and Member Governing Board of Chhattisgarh Administrative Academy. He also acted as a chairman member in various AICT, NAC, and UGC teams. Professor Das obtained his PhD in management from Kurukshetra University, Haryana, and FDP from IIM Ahmedabad. Under his supervision, 12 PhD scholars has been awarded PhD, and 4 books are published to his credit. He is member of editorial boards of several management journals and has published 85 papers in different national and international journals. He participated in 92 national and international conferences held in India and abroad. He was given Best Management Teacher Award by Rotary Club and Lions Club, Raipur, Chhattisgarh. So, sir, are you with us? Okay, R.P. Das, sir. Sir, over to you, sir. It's an immense pleasure to have you in this conference as our key session person. Thank you, sir.
I request Das sir for a speech.
Sir R.P. Das, sir, I think you're not audible to us. Kindly please set your mic. I think mic is not working, R.P. sir.
Your mic is on, sir.
R.P. Das, sir, are you there with us? Sir, your voice is not audible to us.
सर आपके लैपटॉप का माइक्रोफोन तो ऑफ नहीं है सर। लैपटॉप का स्पीकर देखें सर।
एक बार फिर ड्राइवर ने इंस्टॉल होगा फर्स्ट टाइम यूज करना। माइक्रोफोन वर्चुअल वाला इनका चल रहा है बट उनकी ऑडियो नहीं ले रहा है।
आवाज आ नहीं रही सर, शायद लैपटॉप का स्पीकर बंद हो सर। मोबाइल पे थे
मोबाइल ये फिर से एडमिट कर देते हैं, दूसरे से आए
करो, एडमिट करो।
एडमिट कर दिए सर।
सर इस स्पीकर ऑन कर लीजिए सर, माइक ऑन कर लीजिए सर। यस सर। आवाज नहीं आ रही है सर। दास सर आवाज सुनाई नहीं पड़ रही है। ये तो माइक से लॉगिन कर रहे हैं सर, मोबाइल से लॉगिन कर रहे हैं सर।
लिंक है सर मोबाइल के साथ।
हाँ
इसको ऑफ कर दूं। इससे सर को हटा दो कि आप मोबाइल से कर रहे हैं।
हाँ
हटा दो,
कर लेंगे, फिर नहीं आएगा। बोलो।
क्या ज्वाइनिंग थी
मैं
महेश सही नहीं है
महेश द्विवेदी उसमें फाइनेंस वाले में।
This is to get you information, give you the information that might Arpita sir has some technical issues. He is going to join with us through his mobile. So please kindly have the patience. Just within 2 minutes, he will be with us. Thank you.
So is it okay? Hello?
It
Yes,
is
sir.
audible.
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
Arya.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
So I'm audible now, huh?
Yes, yes, sir. अब क्या हुआ आ रहा है?
Outset, I must. Is it audible? Atul?
Yes, audible, sir.
Audible?
Audible, sir. Audible. सुनाई पड़ रहा है सर? हाँ, हाँ जी सर. It is audible.
Hello. And
Good
okay.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. सभी को नमस्कार. In fact, at the outset, I must express my gratitude to Sinha sir, because of whom we are all together today and we are remembering each other today, even if physically we are unable to see meet each other, but we are able to see each other. I am really thankful to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor P.R. Agrawal ji. I am also really thankful to all of you that you could meet me after 6 years in this online program. I could watch the program from the inauguration to this stage, even though I have a meeting just after 15 minutes. But I really thoroughly enjoyed the program, the schedule which has been organized and the people who are involved. Especially, we must express our gratitude to Professor Nageshwar Rao, that despite of his busy schedule, he could spare time for us for this program. Always I feel homecoming to RIWA whenever anybody like Atul or Sunilji remember or remind or invite us, we come to RIWA. And for many years, because of some engagement, we are unable to meet each other physically. But anyhow, I am really thankful and grateful to Atul and Sunilji for remembering us, for making part of this program. What my previous speaker, my friend Pateria ji said, that this program is befitting in the present context. And all the speakers, particularly starting from inauguration to this past session, have spoke in detail about the issues which we are facing during COVID-19 and going to face after COVID-19. What will be the state of affair of the business? What will be the state of affair of the society? What will be the its impact upon the common public, especially on education? I'm so excited that the people whom we have taught, all these students, I am delighted to see all of them presenting so well, far better than all of us. I'm really thankful to Atul and his team that they could allow us to meet them today and making see their presentation and the development which has taken place in the last 2.5 decades. In fact, as the theme was on general management, and Atul has considered me as a generalist in the meantime. So I believe that I should speak a few things because I have told that I have a meeting. I believe that, when I was listening all the speakers, starting from the chief guest to the president of the function and the chief speaker, our friend Professor P.K. Singh, I was just looking at what has happened in APS University RIWA and its founder, management department, V.C. Sinha sir, esteemed V.C. Sinha sir. If you look at his leadership, we talk about in strategy the value, vision, and leadership. The value system which he had given to us, each one of us, Atul, you are a part of that, and perhaps you have got the largest benefit of his value system. Look at it, when there was a time, there was not a single faculty. Today also there is no permanent except you, perhaps others have not joined. Still the system is surviving because the value system which he has created, the vision on which he has nurtured the institution. And if you look at it after almost 3 decades, it is growing. And each one of us have watched what has happened for the migrant workers during COVID time. It was so painful. Perhaps Indian industry, history of Indian industry, if at all any time it will be written, this movement cannot be forgotten, that the way the human beings have been traveling thousands of kilometers to reach their destination, their home. And if we look at it, why it happened, how it happened, and we are talking about what is the post-COVID era. And what has happened, my basic question is, it is because of the general management, it is because of strategic issue, because of the leadership issue, because of the general management issue. It happened because we talk about what somebody was talking about CSR. Gunjan was talking about CSR, other presenter was talking about, they are talking about CSR. They are talking about corporate social responsibility. I talk about PSR, personal social responsibility. I think we have more than 1 crore small scale units spread all over the country. And around 20 crore people are working in the small scale sector. And if you look at the migrant workers, majority of them were the migrant workers. They were moving from their place of work to their home. Why? Other day I was thinking, if the migrant, who are the migrant workers? They are all, majority of them are unorganized workers. Majority of them are working in small scale sector. The employers of small scale sectors, the owners of small scale sectors, they could not visualize that what will be its outcome upon their present state of affairs in the business and what will be its impact upon the future state of affairs. Perhaps they, I as a teacher of management, especially whenever I teach strategic management, some of my students who are participating in this program, even if in RIWA, they must remember, I used to discuss one case called Image Maker, a photographer, and we talk about his business strategy. Now the time has come to introspect about it, that do these small scale industrial houses, small scale manufacturers, do they have business strategy? Do they have a vision? Do they have a value system? Do they have a mission for their enterprises? I used to talk to some of my relatives who are working in Tata's and other big industrial houses. Tata's plant are not closed. Tatas are maintaining this social distancing, but they are not maintaining physical. They are maintaining physical distancing, but they are not maintaining social distancing. Their factories are not closed down. Their people are working, but how they are running it? Why it could not happen with small scale industries? And if it has not happened, now the time has come. Already they are facing the problem of absence of workers. Now the question is, if, as my friend Pateriaji said, we do not know how long this COVID, the corona cases will continue, corona impact will continue, corona will continue. What will be its impact upon the small scale sector? What will be its impact upon the social economic life of 20-30 crore people who cannot live without working for a single day? What these small scale industry owners have done for them, what they are planning today for another 50 years or 20 years or 30 years if their industry has to continue. This is a truth. That world was not prepared. World has never learned a lesson, even if we talk of purchasing land in the moon. But we have faced this problem in 1770s, 80s, 18th century, 17th century, 19th century, where we have lost more than 1 crore people and we are facing this crisis. But my question is, are we preparing strategy as business houses? Are we preparing strategy as a government, that how we are going to face this crisis not only tomorrow, for future? This is an issue for which each one of us, Even if we talk about the business sector, every sector is badly affected, society is badly affected. There is a lot of uncertainty in the minds of everybody. Now it is high time for each one of us to think about that what is to be done, especially in the business, what is to be done in the long run, in the short run, and in the midterm, so that the crisis which has developed, how we can overcome the crisis. The strategy is to be made. The strategist has to be value driven. We should not only talk about profit. The triple bottom line issues which the other presenter has presented, we are only talking about concern about profit. We are not concerned about people. We are not concerned about the planet. Let me tell about. The time has come. Every organization has to evolve. Give too much emphasis upon developing strategy for people management. People management strategy has to be strengthened. If the people management strategy is to be strengthened, that will be the first indicator of good corporate house. That will be first indicator of formulating good business strategy, not to meet any eventualities like COVID-19 or anything which come after this. So, but that is a neglected issue. It is mostly neglected in the small scale sector. It is mostly neglected in unorganized sector. But it is also now felt, as one of our presenters said, that the airline industry or the hotel industry or any type of industry like that, why they are facing this crisis? Because we believe in use and throw policy. We have to go back to the history of the issues before industrial revolution. The time which was the way the management was managing the affairs before industrial revolution, almost similar situation has came somewhere. I know all the starting from inauguration to this stage, many people are very optimistic about the situation. We should be optimistic about the situation, but we should be prepared. So that we should not be prepared for tomorrow. We should be prepared, because if at all we have to talk about the strategy, we should be prepared for all time to come. We should be prepared that what will be if this type of situation come, what will be its impact after a decade, after 2 decades, after 100. You know, the basic issue is that do we have health, are we concerned about health issues of our workers today, before COVID, during COVID, after COVID? Are we concerned about
कहाँ गए वो सब दोनों मम्मी नहीं क्या उसकी
concerned about the financial issues, their continuity issues, their retention issues? These are for which we have to evolve strategy. We have to plan in the long run what will be its impact. Unless we think about the long run, if we always talk about short run, if we always talk about short-term profits, short-term gain, we are really not doing justice with our people. We are not doing justice with our society.
Arpita sir, are you there?
Sir, please continue.
Sustainability of our business. So we have to develop strategy in
जब तो मीटिंग हो गया आ गए वापस
sir, your mic is mute.
माइक म्यूट हो गया है सर। दास सर।
Hello.
यस आ रहा है सर।
Hello.
हाँ आ रही सर, आवाज आ रही है। We can hear you, sir.
So this is what. This is whatever I have said. This is what perhaps I could have said. Thank you very much for inviting me for this program. And I have already told you I have some other program. I have to join it. Thank you. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Chairing the session is really difficult task, sir. Because of you, this is possible. Thank you so much, sir. You did this job in a courteous and professional manner. Thank you, sir, for joining with us. Now, it's a time
Thank you very much. Thank you.
to call. It's a time to call respected Dr. Isha Lakra ma'am, faculty DBA, for vote of thanks. Isha ma'am, over to you. Isha ma'am, you are not audible.
I would get a deal as my audio making.
Am I audible? We have been fortunate to have some of the eminent people from academic as well as industry. We are thankful to the session chair, Professor R.P. Das, sir, Vice Chancellor, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. We are thankful to the key speaker, Professor L.P. Patalia, sir, Professor, Department of Management Studies, Guru Ghasidas Central University, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. We thank our industry expert, Mr. Vinay Pandey, General Manager, Grasim Industries Limited, Aditya Birla, all the way from Mumbai. I am pretty much sure everyone attending the conference must be benefited. It has been our pleasure to host all the participants in the first technical session of the international conference. On behalf of the department, we are thankful to all for sparing their valuable time. A big thank you.
Thank you so much, Isha ma'am, for your kind words of vote of thanks. Reminding you all that this is Dr. Desai, session coordinator, and it's a time to close this post-technical session. I'm very sorry if you all felt any inconvenience from my side and due to internet connectivity. Thank you all for the participation. Thank you all for the participants. Thank you all for joining this session. And
thank you, Vinay. And thank you, Mahesh Dwivedi, for joining.
Thank you, Atul. Thank you, Mahesh.
So much. Thank you, Das sir. Thank you, Mahesh and Dwivedi ji. Thank you to all the presenters and all the participants. I request.
Sir, thank you, Atul sir, and respected Das sir, respected Patria sir, and all the participants, all the seniors. To me, to whom I am not recognizing today, but I am saying thanks to all and thanks to my juniors who has joined this session. And I think tomorrow will be the
tomorrow we will have session on finance. Yes, and Mahesh and Dwivedi will be an industry expert in finance. He is Deputy General Manager, Gas Authority of India Limited at Jaipur. Thanks for joining today. Thank you, Das sir. Thank you, Pataria sir. Thank you, Vinay, and thank you, Mahesh and Dwivedi. Thank you, all the presenters and all the participants. Please join us tomorrow at 10:45. Links have been shared to you already, and I have shared it just now also in chat. Please join in time. Thank you so much to everyone.
आपकी एनर्जी लग रही है जैसे सैनिक स्कूल Bilkul, really, I am my loving and most loving Atul sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mahesh sir. Thank you. We are waiting for you, sir, in the tomorrow's session.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, stay home, stay connected. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Professor Das. Thanks, Atul. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Vinay.
Thank you. Okay, have a nice day, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir.
अपन वेट कर रहे थे जब तक आइए सर और वो चले जाएं, दास सर जो हमारे मेन है ना.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Pragya.
हाँ sir.
Pragya.
जी
Okay.
sir.
Good afternoon.
मैंने सर इंटरप्ट नहीं किया. बड़ा अच्छा सेशन था सर. खूब मजा आया. और सब कुछ
Thank you
बढ़िया
for
से.
joining from the capital of the country, which is badly affected by COVID. Please take care.
Yes sir. Yes sir.
29.
शेषपाल सर हमारी पीपीटी पहुंच गई है. देख लीजिएगा.
Thank you, Suresh Pandey, for joining from Mumbai.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
हाँ, और अगले सेशंस में भी आइएगा, आपको लिंक्स शेयर होंगी.
सर कल भी ज्वाइन करेंगे सर, परसों भी करेंगे. बहुत ही बढ़िया रहा सर, बहुत ही इंफॉर्मेटिव रहा. बहुत अच्छे लोगों से इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे चीजों को जानने के लिए बहुत ही बढ़िया मौका है सर ये.
Thank you so much.
थैंक यू. प्रणाम सर.
अभी भी Thank you, Irshad, for joining from Jammu and Kashmir. I hope you are well.
Thank you very much, sir.
Great to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks to everyone.
Thanks, sir.
Sunita and Simran, well presented, both of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I am signing out. Thank you.